Ethan Collins had always believed in control until the night he realized he'd lost it completely. It wasn't when his boss caught him lying. It wasn't even when the bet was exposed. It was when Noah looked at him, eyes red from crying, and said softly, "So that's all I was? A paycheck." The sound of those words hit harder than the rain pounding against the office window. He wanted to answer. He wanted to tell Noah that somewhere between the deception and the laughter, the late-night coffee runs, and the way Noah hummed under his breath, something real had grown. But truth, he learned, doesn't mean much when it's born from a lie. Noah Bennett joined Holloway and Pierce Advertising 6 months ago, bright-eyed, idealistic, and completely unaware that he'd become a target. The office was a battlefield, especially between Ethan and Liam Walker, two of the agency's top executives, both ruthless in their pursuit of success. When the CEO announced a promotion opening, competition turned venomous. Liam smirked one afternoon, leaning on Ethan's desk, tapping the edge of his coffee cup. "Bet you can't make the new guy fall for you," he said. "He looks too pure for your kind of charm." Ethan had laughed then because that's what he did best. "You think I can't?" "1 month," Liam said. "Make him say he loves you. If you win, I'll drop out of the promotion race." It was stupid, cruel, unforgivable, and Ethan said yes. Noah, for his part, didn't see it coming. He thought Ethan's sudden attention was luck, a miracle even. The senior executive, who always walked past interns without a glance, suddenly stopped by his cubicle one morning with a grin and 2 cups of coffee. "Double-shot caramel macchiato, right?" Ethan had said, pretending he hadn't memorized that detail after overhearing Noah at the vending machine. "That's my favorite," Noah stammered. "How did you—" "I'm good at noticing things," Ethan replied, setting the cup down. "Especially people worth noticing." That was the first lie, and the beginning of the one thing Ethan didn't expect to actually fall in love. They started small. Lunch breaks that stretched too long, quiet jokes exchanged during meetings, stolen glances that became obvious to everyone except them. Noah's laughter was soft, like a melody Ethan didn't realize he'd missed. He started staying later just to walk Noah to the subway. Some nights, they'd stop by a tiny 24-hour diner near Brooklyn Bridge, sharing pancakes and stories about childhood dreams that never quite happened. Noah talked about his mother, how she raised him alone after his dad left. Ethan listened, pretending his heart wasn't twisting. He hadn't told Noah about his father either, the man who taught him that love was weakness, that emotions were currency, not connection. One evening, as they crossed a rain-slick street, Noah slipped. Ethan caught him instinctively, his arm tight around his waist. For a moment, everything slowed, the rain, the cars, the noise, just them. "You've got to stop saving me," Noah whispered with a nervous smile. Ethan's breath caught. "I don't think I could stop if I tried." And he meant it. But truth is cruel. It doesn't wait for perfect timing. 2 days before the promotion announcement, Liam called a meeting. A casual gathering at the bar near the office where secrets had a way of spilling under neon lights and cheap whiskey. Ethan knew it was a mistake to go, but curiosity and guilt dragged him there. "Cheers to the best actor in the company," Liam sneered, raising his glass. "Didn't think you'd actually make him fall, man. I owe you one." The laughter that followed was loud, sharp, and slicing. Ethan froze. Noah was at the bar, holding 2 drinks, his eyes wide. He'd heard everything. The silence between them that night was worse than any shouting could have been. When Ethan tried to explain, Noah just shook his head, tears mixing with the rain as they stood outside the bar. "Tell me it's not true," Noah said. "Please, Ethan. Tell me you didn't use me." Ethan's mouth opened but no words came out, because lies were what got him here, and the truth now would destroy him. So he stayed silent. Noah turned away, and Ethan let him. Days passed like ghosts. The office buzzed with gossip. The promotion was announced. Ethan won, but it meant nothing. The corner office felt like a cage, the city skyline outside his window like punishment. He tried calling, texting. Nothing. Noah disappeared, taking his quiet warmth with him. Then one night, a storm rolled over the city. Ethan walked without thinking, ending up at the same park they once passed through after work. Rain blurred the lights into colors that didn't belong to reality. That's when he saw him. Noah, sitting alone on a bench, his hoodie pulled tight, watching the empty street. Ethan froze under the streetlight. "Noah," he called, voice cracking. Noah looked up. His expression was unreadable hurt wrapped in exhaustion. "You shouldn't be here. I had to see you." "Why? To tell me you won?" "Congratulations, Ethan. You beat me. You beat the idiot who thought someone like you could love for real." The words sliced deep. Ethan stepped closer, soaked to the bone. "I never wanted to hurt you. That bet, God, it was stupid. But I swear, somewhere along the way, I fell for you." Noah laughed bitterly. "You fell for me? Between board meetings and backstabbing? What a fairy tale." Lightning flashed, illuminating their faces. For a second, Ethan saw the boy he loved, the one who'd once believed him. He reached out, trembling. "Please, Noah, just tell me how to make it right." Noah's eyes glistened. "You can't." And then he walked away, leaving Ethan standing alone as the rain swallowed his words. That night, Ethan didn't go home. He wandered until dawn, past streets they'd once walked together, past coffee shops that still smelled like him. He realized he didn't care about the job anymore. The promotion, the money, the prestige, they were all worthless if it meant losing the only person who'd ever seen him as human. He sent in his resignation the next morning. No one understood. Liam laughed. "You're really quitting over some intern?" Ethan looked him dead in the eye. "Over someone I should have protected." And for the first time, Liam had nothing to say. Weeks passed. Life moved on. Ethan found work at a small local agency in Brooklyn. Nothing glamorous, but honest. He tried to rebuild. He tried to forget. Until one rainy evening, almost like fatigue, heard a voice behind him at a coffee shop. "Double shot caramel macchiato." He turned. Noah stood there, holding 2 cups, his eyes cautious but soft. "I figured you'd still like it." Ethan's breath caught. "You came." "I shouldn't have," Noah said quietly. "But I needed to see if you meant it, if you really changed." "I did," Ethan said. "But I don't expect you to believe me." Noah studied him for a long moment. Then, gently, he slid one of the cups across the table. "Maybe I'll let you prove it." Ethan smiled faintly, the first real smile in months. And when Noah's fingers brushed his, he knew sometimes love begins right after the truth burns everything else away. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The cafe hummed with quiet chatter, but between Ethan and Noah, there was only the sound of rain against the window pane and the faint jazz from an old speaker. Every second felt fragile, like the moment could collapse under the weight of everything unsaid. Ethan traced the rim of his coffee cup, eyes fixed on the steam. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he began softly. "I just needed to see you, to know you're okay." Noah leaned back, arms folded. "You think I'm okay after everything?" His voice wasn't angry, it was tired, and somehow that hurt more. Ethan nodded, swallowing hard. "No. But I was hoping maybe you'd tell me how to start making things right." Noah sighed. He looked out the window, watching a couple run past, laughing under one umbrella. "You can't fix something by pretending it never happened." "I know," Ethan said. "But I also know that what I felt for you, what I still feel, it's the only real thing I've ever had. Even if I don't deserve it." That last sentence came out broken, raw. Noah turned his gaze back to him, searching for the man he used to know, the one who used to laugh at his stupid jokes, who remembered his mother's birthday just because she mentioned it once. He found traces of him there, wounded, changed, but still him. "You hurt me," Noah whispered. "You made me feel like I was just something to win." Ethan's voice cracked. "I did, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." They sat in silence again, the rain outside slowing to a drizzle. Noah stirred his coffee, though he hadn't touched it. His thoughts were a storm of contradictions, anger and affection, betrayal and nostalgia. "I tried to hate you," he said finally. "I really did. Every time I saw something that reminded me of you, I told myself it was nothing. But I couldn't stop thinking about that night you stayed with me when my mom was in the hospital." Ethan's eyes softened. She had pneumonia. You wouldn't leave the waiting room. You brought food, Noah continued quietly. You didn't even eat, just sat there making sure I did. I kept asking myself, was that part of the bet too? Ethan shook his head, a tear slipping down his cheek. No, that was me. Noah looked down, pressing his lips together. Then maybe that's the part that makes this so hard. The waitress refilled their cups, and for a moment it felt almost normal again. Two men sharing coffee, trying to talk like friends. But both of them knew it was more than that. It was a quiet negotiation between the past and what might still be possible. Noah broke the silence first. What have you been doing since you left Holloway and Pierce? Ethan smiled faintly. Freelancing. Mostly small business campaigns. Nothing fancy. You? The perfectionist who used to color-code his presentations. He laughed softly. Yeah, well, turns out happiness doesn't come in corporate format. Noah smiled despite himself, then quickly looked away. It was infuriating how easily Ethan could still make him feel that warmth like a fire he couldn't fully put out. I heard Liam got promoted instead, Noah said after a pause. Yeah, Ethan replied, his tone calm but distant. Let him have it. I had everything once and lost it chasing the wrong things. Noah raised an eyebrow. You sound like someone who's been to therapy. I have, Ethan admitted. Twice a week. My therapist says guilt is useless unless you turn it into something better. And have you? I'm trying. Noah studied him for a moment. There was something different in his eyes now, a quiet steadiness. The arrogance was gone, replaced by humility that felt real. A gust of wind blew in from the river, carrying a faint chill. Noah pulled his jacket tighter. Ethan stood and reached for his umbrella. Let me walk you home, he offered. Noah hesitated. You don't have to. I know, Ethan said simply. But I want to. After a beat, Noah nodded. All right. They walked side by side along the wet cobblestone street. The rain had stopped, leaving puddles that reflected the city lights like small, trembling stars. Their hands brushed once, then again, each touch hesitant, accidental, maybe not so accidental. You know, Noah said, breaking the silence, you used to walk too fast. Ethan chuckled. That's because I was always running from something. And now, he looked at him. Now I'm just trying to keep up. Noah didn't answer, but the faint smile tugging at his lips said enough. When they reached Noah's apartment building, the street was quiet except for the low hum of distant traffic. The yellow glow from the lamppost above them softened the world, blurring the edges of everything harsh. This is me, Noah said, stopping at the steps. Ethan nodded. Yeah, I remember. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air was heavy with all the things they didn't say, the apologies, the memories, the lingering ache. Ethan, Noah began softly. Why did you come back tonight? Really? Ethan took a breath. Because every time it rains, I still look for you. Noah's throat tightened. You shouldn't. I know, Ethan said, stepping closer, voice barely above a whisper. But I do. They stood there, inches apart. The kind of distance that hurts more than any goodbye. Noah's eyes glistened. I can't promise anything. I'm not asking for a promise, Ethan replied. Just a chance to prove I'm not the same man who hurt you. Noah hesitated, then reached into his pocket, pulling out a folded slip of paper. There's a charity event this weekend, my firm's sponsoring it. If you really want to prove something, show up. Ethan took the paper, his hand trembling. I'll be there. As Noah turned to go inside, he stopped at the door and looked back. Don't make me regret this. Ethan smiled faintly. I won't. The next 2 days felt like an eternity. Ethan threw himself into preparation, though he wasn't sure what exactly he was preparing for. He looked up the charity event, a fundraiser for a youth shelter in Queens. Noah's company was handling the marketing campaign, and the event doubled as a showcase for local artists. He hadn't seen Noah in that setting before, professional, confident, in his element. It scared him a little, because for the first time he wasn't the one in control. When Saturday came, the city was alive with color. The Venue converted warehouse strung with fairy lights buzzed with laughter and music. Ethan arrived early, helping the volunteers arrange chairs, setting up banners, anything to keep his hands busy. Then he saw him. Noah walked in wearing a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, a simple black tie. He looked effortlessly radiant, like sunlight after months of storm. Their eyes met across the room. Ethan felt his heart stumble. "You came," Noah said when he reached him. "You asked me to," Ethan replied. "I didn't think you would." "Then I'm already surprising you." Noah tried not to smile but failed. "Don't get used to it." Throughout the evening, they drifted in and out of each other's orbit. Ethan watched Noah laugh with coworkers, help guests, move through the crowd with ease. Every time their eyes met, something unspoken passed between them, a quiet pull neither could ignore. At one point, during a lull in the music, Noah found himself beside Ethan at the refreshment table. "You're actually working," Noah teased. "Didn't think manual labor was your thing." Ethan grinned. "Trying to earn some redemption points. You're going to need a lot more than folding chairs for that." "Then I'll fold every chair in New York if that's what it takes." Noah rolled his eyes, but his lips curved upward. "You're impossible." "Maybe," Ethan said, "but I'm here." For the first time, Noah didn't have a comeback. Later that night, when most of the guests had left, the organizers played a slow song. Couples began to dance, laughter blending with the fading hum of conversation. Noah was about to help pack up when Ethan approached him. "Dance with me," Ethan said. Noah blinked. "You're kidding." "Dead serious. There are people here." "I don't care." Noah hesitated. "Ethan, just one dance," Ethan whispered. "If it feels wrong, I'll walk away. But if it feels right, then maybe we can stop pretending we're strangers." The look in Ethan's eyes, vulnerable, pleading, was something Noah hadn't seen before. Against his better judgment, he nodded. Ethan's hand was warm against his waist, gentle, careful. They moved slowly, the world around them fading into soft lights and the quiet rhythm of the song. Noah felt his pulse steady in time with Ethan's, and for a fleeting moment, it didn't matter where they were or what had happened before. When the song ended, they didn't step apart. Ethan spoke first, voice low. "You still make me believe in things I don't deserve." Noah looked up, their foreheads almost touching. "Maybe it's not about deserving. Maybe it's about choosing." Ethan's breath caught. "Then choose me." Noah didn't answer right away. His heart raced with fear and longing, two old enemies that had learned to coexist. Finally, he said quietly, "I'll think about it." And then, before Ethan could speak, Noah pressed a soft, fleeting kiss to his cheek and walked away. That night, Ethan stood outside the venue long after it closed. The street was empty except for the faint glow of streetlights reflecting on wet asphalt. His cheek still burned where Noah's lips had been a promise. A maybe, a beginning. He looked up at the cloudy sky and whispered to himself, "For once, don't screw this up." And somewhere deep down, for the first time in years, he believed he wouldn't. The days after the charity event were an exercise in restraint. Ethan wanted to call Noah, text him, see him, but he didn't. He remembered the look in Noah's eyes that night. Not rejection, but something gentler, almost hopeful. He knew that if he pushed too hard, he'd lose that fragile chance forever. So instead, he waited. He went back to his quiet life in Brooklyn, designing ad campaigns for small local cafes, helping a friend launch a dog rescue fundraiser. But no matter how many projects he took, there was always a gap in his day where his thoughts drifted back to Noah. The sound of his voice, the way his laughter used to fill the spaces Ethan didn't know were empty. He told himself he'd be patient, that if something real existed between them, it would find its way back. He didn't expect it to happen so soon. One Friday afternoon, just as he was closing his laptop, his phone buzzed with a message. "Meet me at Central Park. 7 p.m. by the fountain." And Ethan stared at the screen, his pulse quickening. For a long moment, he just stood there, afraid to hope. Then he grabbed his coat and left before he could change his mind. The park was nearly empty by the time he arrived. The air smelled like wet leaves and the faint sweetness of spring. The fountain glowed faintly under the streetlights, its water glimmering like glass. Noah stood there, hands in his pockets, looking at the reflection in the water. Ethan stopped a few feet away. "You said 7. I didn't want to be late." Noah smiled slightly. "You used to always be late." "I'm learning." A faint laugh escaped him. Then silence settled again, comfortable but heavy with expectation. "I've been thinking," Noah began, eyes still fixed on the fountain. "About what you said. About choosing." Ethan swallowed. "And I realized, I don't know how to love halfway. When I care about someone, I go all in. And that's what makes it terrifying." He turned to look at Ethan, eyes soft but guarded. "You broke something in me, Ethan. Not just trust. Hope. I used to believe love could survive anything until you proved me wrong." Ethan took a step closer, voice trembling. "Then let me prove you wrong again." Noah shook his head, though his expression softened. "You can't erase what happened." "I don't want to erase it," Ethan said quietly. "I want to learn from it, to build something better on top of it. Something real." They stood there in the hush of evening, the city's noise fading behind them. A breeze stirred the trees, scattering petals across the path like fragments of memory. Noah took a deep breath. "Do you know what I realized after everything?" Ethan waited. "That you weren't the only one pretending," Noah said softly. "I kept pretending I was fine, that I didn't care. But I did. Every damn day." Ethan's voice cracked. "Then why push me away? Because if I let you back in and you hurt me again." Noah's voice faltered. "I don't think I'd survive it." Ethan stepped forward slowly, stopping just in front of him. "Then I'll spend however long it takes proving I won't." Noah looked up at him, their faces inches apart. "You can't promise that." "I can promise to try, and to be honest even when it's ugly. Especially when it's ugly." For a long moment Noah said nothing. Then, in a voice barely audible, he asked, "Do you still love me?" Ethan's answer was immediate. "I never stopped." The world seemed to hold its breath. Rain began to fall soft, hesitant drops that shimmered in the light. Noah closed his eyes, feeling the familiar sting of it on his skin. When he opened them again, Ethan was still there, unmoving, as if waiting for permission to breathe. "You always find me in the rain," Noah murmured. Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe that's where I finally learned to be honest." Noah's lips trembled, torn between resistance and surrender. Then, with a quiet sigh, he reached up and touched Ethan's face, just a brush of fingertips against his cheek. Ethan froze. Then his hand came up, covering Noah's gently, as if afraid to break the moment. "I hate that you still make me feel this way," Noah whispered. "I'll take that," Ethan said. "It's better than nothing." Noah laughed softly, a sound that hurt and healed at once. And then, before reason could intervene, he leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't the desperate, fiery kiss of their past. It was slow, trembling, filled with the ache of forgiveness trying to be born. The kind of kiss that said, "I remember everything, and I'm still here." When they finally pulled apart, Noah rested his forehead against Ethan's. "This doesn't mean everything's fixed." "I know," Ethan said. "It just means there's still something worth fixing." They walked together after that, umbrella forgotten, the rain turning to mist around them. Conversation came in fragments of remembered jokes, quiet apologies, words that didn't need answers. Every step felt like a bridge being rebuilt, plank by plank. When they reached the park's exit, Noah stopped and turned to him. "There's a diner around the corner. You know, the one with those terrible pancakes you love." Ethan grinned. "You remember that?" "I remember everything," Noah said simply. "That's the problem." Ethan hesitated. "Then why are you still here?" Noah met his gaze. "Because even with all the pain, you're still the one I want to remember." And with that, he started walking toward the diner. Ethan followed, heart pounding, the rain finally easing to a soft drizzle. Inside, the diner looked exactly the same, neon lights buzzing faintly, the smell of coffee and maple syrup hanging in the air. The waitress recognized them instantly, though she said nothing, only smiled knowingly as she handed them menus. Noah slid into the booth by the window, his fingers tracing the edge of the laminated table. Ethan sat opposite him, studying the faint reflection of Noah's face in the glass. "You know," Noah said after a moment, "it's funny. The last time we were here, I told you I didn't believe in fate." Ethan smiled. "And I told you fate was just stubborn love in disguise." "Yeah," Noah murmured. "I thought that was a stupid line." "Still do." Noah looked up, meeting his eyes. "Not anymore." Their food arrived: 2 stacks of pancakes, 2 cups of black coffee. It should have felt ordinary, but it didn't. Every movement, every glance felt like a thread being tied back together. Slowly, carefully, halfway through the meal, Noah put down his fork. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd told me the truth from the start?" Ethan exhaled. "All the time. But then I think if I hadn't lost you, maybe I'd never have learned how to love you right." Noah's eyes softened. "That's unfairly poetic." "I've had time to practice," Ethan said with a small smile. "Therapist approved." Noah laughed, shaking his head. "God, you're such a mess." "I am," Ethan agreed. "But I'm your mess if you'll have me." Noah didn't respond right away. Instead, he reached across the table, his fingers brushing Ethan's. "Maybe we start small. Coffee on Sundays. Walks in the park. No promises. Just us." Ethan nodded, his eyes warm. "Us sounds perfect." Weeks passed. The city shifted from spring to early summer, sunlight stretching longer each day. Ethan and Noah found their rhythm again, not as something rushed or desperate, but as 2 people learning to be gentle with each other. They had movie nights where they argued over popcorn flavors, Sunday walks that ended in the same park where everything once fell apart, and long talks about everything they were too scared to say before. Some nights, Noah would wake up next to him, heart racing, memories clawing back. Ethan never asked what was wrong. He just pulled him close, whispering, "I'm here," and slowly, piece by piece, Noah began to believe it. One morning, while they sat on Ethan's balcony watching the city wake, Noah spoke quietly. "You know that question Liam asked me that night? In the rain?" Ethan turned to him. "The one you never answered?" Noah nodded. "If it were me, would you dare to love for real?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Yeah, I remember." Noah took a deep breath. "I think I finally know the answer." Ethan's heart skipped. "And?" Noah looked at him, sunlight catching in his eyes. "If it were you, if it is you, then yes. I dare." Ethan froze, his breath caught between disbelief and joy. Then he laughed softly, the sound shaking with relief. "God, Noah." Noah leaned in, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "Don't thank me yet. You still have to keep earning it." Ethan grinned. "Every day. Starting now." That evening, as the city buzzed below them, they danced barefoot, clumsy, to a song that played faintly from Ethan's phone. It wasn't a grand ending, not the kind that movies promise. It was small and imperfect and beautifully real. Noah rested his head against Ethan's shoulder. "You know, for someone who started with a lie, you're surprisingly good at keeping promises." Ethan chuckled, his hand tracing slow circles on Noah's back. "That's because I finally found one worth keeping." Outside, the last traces of sunlight faded into the night. The rain that once tore them apart had given way to something quieter, something that didn't need to be loud to be true. And when Noah whispered, "I love you," against his skin, Ethan didn't answer with words. He just held him tighter, as if to say, "This time it's real. And I'm not letting go." Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.